Okay, page 174, A Dream of Red Mansions. Bao Yu decided that the Lady Dowager's room, filled as they were with many people, were not a good place to talk to Dai Yu. He therefore waited and later went to the bamboo lodge, where he found her engrossed in a book. Dai Yu was reading a book. However, when Bao Yu looked over her shoulder, he found that he could not understand any of the strange symbol on the page. Dai Yu explained that she was reading a musical score for a lute. I started to learn to play the lute in Yangzhou, which is where I got this score. Yangzhou is close to Hangzhou, is in south of China, a beautiful city. I have been there, yeah. For a lute, I started to learn to play from Yangzhou, and this is where I got this book from Yangzhou. However, it was so difficult that I soon gave up. It was too frustrating. I wanted to emulate the old poems. You know, to play of hills and rivers and meet someone who will understand it all. But I couldn't manage it, Dai Yu said. And 高山流水米之音. Dai Yu said, and then lowered her eyes to the floor. Dai Yu received a gift of a vase full of orchid from Lady Wang. When she noticed that a couple of flowers possessed double blooms, Dai Yu felt moved, though she was not sure whether with happiness or sorrow. When Bao Yu left her, she stayed in her room, staring at the orchid. Bao Yu left, and Dai Yu kept on looking at the orchid. If my heart's desire is fulfilled, I will get better, she thought to herself. But if it does not, then surely I will be just like a dying flower, tormented by the wind and the rain. With this thought, Dai Yu began to cry. That's orchid flower as a gift. Bao Yu left. Dai Yu cried by herself. Page 175, 探春, Xiangyun. Li Wan and Li Qi visited Dai Yu, and they sat together to drink tea and talk. A strong smell drifted in from the window, yet none of them could decide what kind of plant it was from. This led them to surmise that people who are born in different areas know about different types of plant. Xiang Yun giggled. The fact that we are all together now shows that each person has a destiny they cannot escape. It must have been fate that brought us all here. So They were chatting and they smelled something. When her guests had gone, Dai Yu felt suddenly cold and asked Xue Yan to bring her more clothes. When Xue Yan set down a pile of furs and cloaks, Dai Yu spotted pieces of silk among them. She pulled them out and found that they were the handkerchief Bao Yu had given her while she was sick. They were covered with the poems she had written and were stained with her tears. Inside them, she found her scented purse, a fan case, and one of the tassel from Bao Yu's piece of jade. Once again, Dai Yu began to cry. So they were chatting, and they smelled something, and one of the ladies, I think, who is the lady? Xiang Yun said, "We are all from different places. This is why we are unique and different," something. And Dai Yu felt cold. She opened up some clothes and found old memorabilias, and she began to cry again. Page 176. A Dream of Red Mansion. When Bao Yu had a day off from school the following day, he decided to visit Dai Yu. Yet, when he got to her quarters, he spotted Xue Yan hanging some handkerchief in the courtyard and learned that Dai Yu was resting. He therefore made his way to the smart wheat cottage, where he found Xi Chun playing a game of Go with Miao Yu. Bao Yu teased Miao Yu by saying, "How unusual to see you leave your saintly activities and design and dine to dwell with us mere mortals." Miao Yu was embarrassed and hung her head to hide her blush. Miao Yu, where is Miao Yu? Miao Yu soon decided to return to her quarters. Yet, as she was unsure of the way to get home, Bao Yu decided to accompany her as a guide. As they passed the bamboo lodge, they heard some music and sat down on the rockeries to listen. When they heard the twang of strings and a shrill voice singing out, "I wish that my heart were as clear as the moon in the heaven," the color drained from Miao Yu's face. She shouldn't suddenly play such a high note, Miao Yu explained. It could shatter glass. She won't be able to keep doing it for long. As soon as she had finished speaking, they heard the song of one of the strings snapping. So they heard some music, and the music was very, very high note. Back in the nunnery, Miao Yu finished her dinner and then sat down to meditate. This must be Miao Yu, to meditate. Yet she could not stop thinking of what Bao Yu had said to her, and she felt her heart beating faster. She imagined that she was far from the nunnery, and that many young men had come to try to marry her, and were fighting and pulling her towards a carriage. The whole couch rocked as Miao Yu's face flashed scarlet. Then she saw Brigand dragging her away with threats and curses, brandishing their weapons. It was then that she let out an ear-piercing scream. The scream was heard throughout the nunnery, and soon many of the nuns had arrived to see what had happened. When they saw Miao Yu shaking and foaming at the mouth in her sleep, they shook her and wake her as quickly as possible. As soon as she awoke, Miao Yu cried out, "Take me home, please, I beg you. Let me go back home." A doctor was called, and upon learning of the medicine technique she practiced, he stated that she's been overcome by evil thoughts that filled her mind and could not be driven out. 妙玉走火入魔了. So the other people hear a huge scream. This is a nunnery. Xi-Chun was puzzling over her Go handbook when Yuanyang and one of her servants arrived with a small wrap of yellow silk. Yuanyang said, "Since the Lady Dowager will be 81 next year, which is 9 times 9, she intends to offer sacrifice for 9 days and 9 nights. She has also promised to make 3,651 copies of the Diamond Sutra, 金刚经. She had already assigned this task to other workers. But because we have a copy of the Sutra of the Heart of Wisdom, 心经, a Sutra of the Heart of Wisdom, the Guanyin, and Guanyin is female Bodhisattva. She thought it would only be proper if some of the young women here made 365 copies of it. Xi-Chun soon agreed, nodding. "I may not be good at many things, but copying sutra is something at which I am most skilled." When Bao Yu was talking with the Lady Dowager, he remarked that at school Jia Huan and Jia Lan had been asked to write some verse, and Jia Lan had been highly commended by the teacher. Jia Huan and Jia Lan soon came to visit the Lady Dowager, and she congratulated Jia Lan on his good work. Jia Lan smiled modestly, but his mother, Li Wan, felt completely overwhelmed, and tears rolled down her cheek. Lady Dowager and Li Wan, Jia Huan,